Hello, and welcome to the Talk of the Town. I'm Mike Jacobi. It's good to have you with us. The Talk of the Town, our goal is this is just our third show, so we're still growing a bit, is to highlight some of the wonderful things about Los Gatos and its proximity, and not the least of which is the marvelous event that happens every September, the Monterey Jazz Festival. With me in the studio, Colleen Bailey. How are you, darling?
I'm
nice
great.
to see you. I'm
Nice
such a
to be
sexist
here.
darling. How are you, dear? And my buddy Tim Jackson. I'll get letters on this. Colleen is the new managing director because Supreme Allied Commander had already been taken, apparently, right? That's how it
right.
works.
Grand Poobah.
Grand Poobah. It wasn't around. And Tim Jackson has been the artistic director and managing director for what, 25 years?
Yeah.
25 years, amazing. And started when he was in his late 40s, but I don't know, like that. And you're the artistic director now. We're going to talk about both of your backgrounds, but for the folks, you know, so many people, and it never ceases to surprise me, that have heard of the Monterey Jazz Festival, but I haven't been there. You would think, my God, it's like not going across the Golden Gate Bridge or something when you live around here, because it's just a hop, skip, and an eighth note away. Tell me about Jimmy Lyons and how this whole thing came together.
Well, our founder was Jimmy Lyons, and the festival.
And Jimmy was who?
Well, he was a radio DJ, advance man for the Stan Kenton Orchestra. He was a big band jazz guy. I think he grew up in Southern California. That's kind of where he started in the business, and then he became
Hermosa Beach, that all over
the ballrooms down there in the '40s, and then he became a radio guy. He worked in radio in San Francisco, then down in Monterrey, and when he was in Monterrey, probably keeping an eye towards the Newport Jazz Festival, which started in 1954. If you've ever been to Newport, there's some similarities between Monterey and Newport. They're coastal tourist communities, well-heeled, right on the water, beautiful sights, and thinking that, well, maybe we could start a festival on the West Coast. And so he was able to convince the city fathers of this. In fact, the legend is that there were 67 local businesses that each donated $100.
Really?
And that's what bankrolled the first festival in 1958. So Jimmy, along with Ralph Gleason, who was a great jazz writer, had a syndicated column in the San Francisco Chronicle for years and wrote books on jazz. They kind of founded it together. The interesting thing I've always thought with Monterey is that we were founded, Newport was founded as a commercial venture. Monterey Jazz Festival was founded as a nonprofit organization in 1958. So I don't know empirically, but I've got to think it's probably the first jazz organization that was ever incorporated as a not-for-profit.
Was it, you know, it's like with Crosby, with the tournament starting, was basically a way to bring business to the peninsula, and which is why the city fathers embraced it. So the business people.
They blessed it because Monterey had the first festival. Actually, was the first weekend in October, not the third weekend in September. So it was a way to bring people into Monterey in the shoulder season, which was the kind of the business person's viewpoint of why this is a good thing. And Monterey has always traditionally been, you know, a festival town, whether it's golf, motor racing, the Big Sur Marathon, all of it. You know, it's a place where people go for festivals.
And that first year, Billie Holiday, Mort Saul was the MC.
Mort Saul was the MC.
Billie Holiday, was Dizzy there that year?
Yeah, Dizzy was there. Dizzy played this Star Spangled Banner, you know, to open the first festival.
And was Ellington there? I mean, it was something. I think Harry James was there that year.
No, I don't think the first year, but Max Roach was there, Sonny Rollins, Jim Hall. You know, it was an amazing array. Jerry Mulligan, Dave Brubeck. Amazing array of artists. You know, when you look back on the festival, particularly those first 10 years, because it was kind of a golden age of jazz, you know, everybody from Miles, Monk, Coltrane, Modern Jazz Quartet, you know, of course, Dizzy was there a lot, Clark Terry was there a lot, Brubeck was there a lot. So it was really, it quickly became along the, you know, the bookend to Newport. There was Newport on the East Coast, Monterey on the West Coast, and they were the two premier festivals. in the country and perhaps in the world, and to this day, still a Monterey Jazz Festival's been, this year won in the Jazz Times a readers poll as best jazz festival. Newport's always right up there, so we're still. I think the cool thing is after all these decades, we're still both operating, still both true to our original values, and still keeping people happy.
Well, and proof positive that life has to go on with not just the arts. I turn stage left and talk to Colleen, who is, what was your earliest memories of jazz? Were you a jazz fan growing up?
Well, my father played jazz,
okay,
and we have lots of jazz musicians in our family, so I grew up around it. I always loved jazz.
Yeah.
I sang when I was young, and so my first introduction to really studying jazz, probably my only experience studying jazz, was with the Jazz Festival's education program.
Yeah.
They came to my school.
Right.
So they had a summer camp, and I participated as a vocalist in their jazz camp.
Did you, in your wildest dreams, did you ever think you'd have a managing director that would say, I sing?
Could I get a gig?
This is I knew there was a reason. This is a wonderful resume. Yeah, I sing. So did you grow up in Salinas area?
I did. I was raised in Salinas, and then I went to school on the peninsula, and then left at 17.
Okay. All right. That's always a wise move.
Well, I think it's good. Got a little global
Had you
experience.
gone to the jazz festival as a kid?
No, never.
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 Okay.
It wasn't until I came back to the Monterey Peninsula that I had a chance to go. So.
And you ran the Steinbeck Center.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And that is that whole thing, and we'll be as kind as possible in saying this with the Salinas City Council and all those. That's a gene pool you don't want to dive into. That is
It's a
tough,
complicated thing,
it's like
Steinbeck,
Chinatown, for heaven's sake.
John Steinbeck had a very complicated relationship with Salinas, and I think that continues to through to today. It was a wonderful place though, and I had a wonderful experience there. Learned a lot, and hopefully all of that comes back to add value to the Monterey Jazz Festival.
Well, the extraordinary thing about nonprofits, and I'm preaching to the choir here, is that there are no or very few long-term contracts. It's like everything's on an Etch-a-Sketch, and every summer you shake it and you start over. And so people that think I'm shaking hands, my hand's always out anyway. So you just give me the fast forward that the job became available, and you sing.
Yeah, not really anymore.
That's true. Well, we know people.
You're gonna wish you never said that.
I know, right? I'm in trouble now.
He's never gonna let you forget that.
What's the old joke? God knows this little blonde.
Actually, Tim and I kind of worked together for the first time because we had a relationship between the Jazz Festival and the National Steinbeck Center. So we did a Jazz with Steinbeck event that was a big kind of gala event, and Tim brought some wonderful festival artists right ahead of the festival opening to perform at the National Steinbeck Center with this. They kind of took over the whole center and draped it, and it became this kind of a cabaret kind of setting, a jazz cabaret. And so we worked together on that event for a couple of years.
Tim, is that unique to Monterey, where I would think a lot of jazz groups would kind of just expose themselves to what they would think would be a self-serving thing, where they could, well, maybe that's someplace jazz shouldn't be. Where you guys look at it, we're going to take it to the public, and we're going to get involved with the different. Your tentacles are out everywhere.
If you start out your life presenting jazz in a horse arena, which is essentially our arena at the festival, that's how it started its life, is as a horse arena, and it's still used in that. I mean, we spend a lot of time and energy transforming that Monterey Fairgrounds into a quality venue for live music. So we're very open-ended on where and how and who should listen to jazz. Basically everybody, everything, all the time.
Talk to me a little bit, and I want to hear from both of you on this, the programs that you're doing for young people with the festival.
Well, what I'm most proud of, one of the things I'm most proud of with the festival is that, as I mentioned a minute ago, it was founded in 1958 as a nonprofit organization. Therefore, there was a public trust involved right from the start, and a kind of pact with the community. In fact, if you look at the very first program from 1958, you see a full page, statement of principles, which is basically dedicating the Monterey Jazz Festival to not only producing a wonderful festival, but also being involved in jazz education and outreach. So we've been in the jazz education game since 1958, and there's not too many organizations that can say that. And so over the years, it's developed immensely as to where we have, two full-time people working in our education department, and we've got an active committee on our board of directors, and we've got a really comprehensive program that not only deals with our kids locally in our Artist in the Schools program and with our Monterey Jazz Festival High School All-Star Band, which will be at Jazz on the Plaza in a few weeks, but also regionally and nationally with our Next Generation Jazz Festival, where we bring in hundreds of student groups, middle school, high school, and college groups, both big bands, combos, and vocal ensembles.
To a free event.
At the Monterey Conference Center every spring. It's usually late March, early April, for this high school festival. There's a competition involved, but it's really more of a festival. It's to see these young people get together and collaborate. It's just amazing to hear. In the 25 years that I've been at the festival, the difference in the quality level of the students when I first got there to now is just astounding. So we have kids from all over the country who participate. It's where we choose our Next Generation Jazz Orchestra, which is our national high school all-star band. And then with that band and also with our county band, depending on the year and the circumstances, we're taking these groups out on international tours, whether it's to Japan or Europe or Canada. This year we didn't go international, but our high school all-star band, the Monterey County group, performed at the Kennedy Center on the 4th of July and did a series of gigs in Washington, D.C. So we're reaching young people throughout the world, and it's really it's a very rewarding program. When you come to the festival, particularly on the Sunday afternoon, you'll hear a lot of the fruits of our labor in jazz education, because we've got great student groups. It's not all student groups, it's the majority is professional groups, but we have the winning bands, the top bands from the Next Generation Jazz Festival, along with our Next Generation Jazz Orchestra playing with festival professionals.
And let me just take 1 second to be a bit self-serving, which is my want. But August 19th, the kids will be here, as they are every year, and I will spend the following 3 days with answering questions with the following words: yes, high school. And the fact that these kids, every year it's a new. It occurred to me 4 or 5 years ago. It's a whole new group of people every year.
Every year.
They rarely the same guys come.
Yeah, we'll have a few people that will cycle through,
Yeah.
and then they head off to college. The group this year sounds particularly good, and they're very motivated because this is a group that just got back from Washington, D.C.
Yeah.
So playing at the Kennedy Center, playing at the National Archives, playing in a professional jazz venue. They got a gig at the Bohemian Caverns, which is one of the most famous jazz clubs in Washington, D.C. Hell, in the country for that matter. It's a very historic jazz venue. So they're really they're pumped up and ready to play.
They're on fire, that's for sure.
So we're talking with Colleen Bailey and Tim Jackson's Monterey Jazz Festival. We'll take a quick break. You're watching Talk of the Town. Hi, Michael Jacobi here, executive producer of Jazz on the Plaza, a production of Los Gatos Music and Arts. You know, people often ask me how can they help support us, and in doing so, help keep jazz alive. Well, a couple of ways. One, you could get a corporation and give us $500,000. Now, it was worth a shot. Or two, you could buy some reserved seats. You buy some of the merchandise. And this year, with our tribute to Frank Sinatra, there's some wonderful Fedora logoed wine glasses along with shirts. And best of all, you could either check out the gala with the 4 freshmen or buy a jazz card. Now, the jazz card is just $100, a mere C note, and there's $700 worth of value on it. All right. You give me 1 minute and these glasses, and I'll tell you exactly what you get. All right, start the clock. Go to Willow Street. It's good for 1 free pizza and a side salad. Go to Main Street Burgers. Good for a free burger, fries, and soda. Nothing But Cakes. Good for buntinis. Go to Verge, the new restaurant at the Toll House, and get a free breakfast entree. Los Gatos Roasting Company. Free breakfast crepe and a large coffee. You can even get a horseback riding lesson at Bright Ranch in San Martin. Go to Rootstock, a sampler appetizer plate. At Skin Spirit, the new folks in town, it's good for one skin rejuvenating chemical peel. Jazz on the Plaza, a couple of VIP entries. Billy's Boston Chowder House, good for a free Boston Cioppino lunch. Classic Car Wash, a classic car wash. What else? Arthur Murray, one free dance lesson. Centonove, good for a free tiramisu. The Cats, a half a rack of ribs with a side. Chin Chin, free truffle fries. Gardino's, good for a free appetizer. And finally, Testarossa Winery, it gets you 2 passes for wine tasting and a couple of invites to an artesian wine cheese experience. $700 for just a $100 investment. Now it's your chance to help keep jazz alive and help the good folks at Los Gatos Music and Arts keep on keeping on. Come on. And we're back. You're watching Talk of the Town. I'm Mike Jacobi. With me for the Monterrey Jazz Festival, the managing director, the new managing director and singer, and she's going to be tired of that, Colleen Bailey, and my old friend Tim Jackson, the artistic director. Tim was just talking about all the marvelous things that keeping jazz alive and bringing young people into the loop. That must be a particularly special joy to you, being on the other side. And we're running the business side makes it a lot easier when the business you're running has such a big heart.
Oh, that's right. And I think in terms of the impact on the community, you see that through these students who have, their lives enriched through this program. So and the other thing that I think is really interesting is to see how many of the students who have come through our program end up playing at the festival as professional musicians. This year, I think there are 10, right, Tim?
Yeah, I haven't counted exactly, but there's some very, very high-profile artists like Ambrose Akinmuseri, folks like that have been through our high school programs that are now, he's our commission artist for this year. He's one of the focal points of the festival.
Well, I've talked about it before, but it's amazing. The art form is, if you take a young rock and roll guy and mention Bo Diddley or Gene Pitney, he'll just stare at you blankly. But if you take a young tenor player, and mention Lester Young or John Coltrane, they'll reel it off to you. The art form perpetuates itself, and that must be a great byproduct, because of the guys that have played Monterey. Not only want to come back because it's a good gig, but want to come back because they know your dedication to the music.
I think that's a good point. I'm glad you brought that up, and I've seen this happen, and I've even talked to the artists about it, and it's very clear that when they're young and in high school, they are getting this mentoring process with the professionals of the generation ahead of them. And there's no question, I'll even bring it up to them sometimes. I'll say, it's now your turn.
That's exactly it.
Your time is coming. They're like, I know. It is, and I can feel it, and I'm going to step up to the plate and do it. And you see that when I remember when Ambrose first came to the high school. This is before we called it the Next Generation Jazz Festival, and I was just calling it our high school competition. When he was there as a high school student at Berkeley High School, and following around Roy Hargrove and asking him questions. Now, when we bring Ambrose back as an artist in residence, and he's at our summer jazz camp, the kids are just following him around. It's like the Pied Piper, he stops, and it's just, there's a cluster just forms around it, because everybody wants to be around him, and he understands that he and many other young musicians understand that this is now their role, that this is a very important music. And it's incredibly important for them to share their wisdom, their knowledge, and their passion for this music, and try and help along this next generation, because they received that help when they were younger.
Now, is it a bit daunting to come into a situation like this where unquestionably, artistically, and reputation and performance-wise, they have their stuff together, but as a business person, coming in and going, you can do this a little better on this side?
Well, I think, for all nonprofits, 2008 and that period was really, really tough.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to come in at a point where I think things are recovering, and I think people are looking for these kinds of opportunities to come together as a community. And certainly the Monterey Jazz Festival for those of you who have not been, has a community that comes around it. So people come back year after year after year because they, not only because they love the artists, but they love the people that they sit next to, and they get to know the people. And I think there really is a particularly acute sense of community that's been built up over the
Well, and I find
years.
doing the fundraising for our event here, the biggest challenge is if you can get somebody to go to Monterey, you've sold them. And you get someone to come to Jazz and Plaza, I've sold them. That's not the issue. It's just somehow trying to do a grant or get someone to step up with things on paper. And no matter how well you tell the story, like you said, you're never going to feel the buzz until you're there.
Yeah, we got to get people there, and then we've got to let them know what else we do throughout the rest of the year.
And that's great. And there are
always
people that are
challenge.
more than open to donating. That it's a whole world out there that maybe it may not have occurred to you to pitch someone, and then they're just kind of waiting. Yeah, I would like to do that.
Exactly. Exactly.
Your numbers are doing well. Are you? Admittedly, you had a slow period a couple of years ago. You went down a little bit. We talked about it.
I think most of us in the performing arts, not just jazz, but in general, experience some slow times, particularly in that time frame after 2008, 2009 that Colleen just talked about. But we're doing well. Our numbers are up over last year. We've got some great programs available. We're getting some stronger corporate support, more interest in from donors, and I think we're kind of refining, reimagining, and creating a way to view the festival in a way that really shows off the qualities that we have as a community organization. With an international flair.
One of the main things I've admired about you over the years, you refuse to mail it in. I mean, every year you know you're the keeper of the flame on several levels, and you stick to your guns with the quality and the variety.
Yeah, we are a jazz festival, and we will always, as far as I'm concerned, as long as I'm there, we'll always be a jazz festival. You see a lot of festivals now
like
become
world
sort
festival
of
kind of things.
Jazz festivals in name with which is just sort of a hook to present whatever people want to present. And I have very open ears when it comes to music. I like most types of music. But we are a jazz festival. We have the tradition, the lineage. All I have to do is look back through the programs. I just will pick a year, 1968, who was there, 1969, wow, there was Miles Davis was here that year, this person, that person. So there's a lot of inspiration there, and there's a lot of great organizations around, a lot of great colleagues that that I look to, and everybody's doing good work. So you better step up and be counted.
Absolutely.
Or people will, there's so much
there's a lot of competition
there's
for the
a lot
dollar
of competition,
as well.
A lot of ways that people can spend their discretionary income, and it's not always easy to have your event rise to the top.
As we get toward our time here together, give me, and I want to talk about this year's festival, who's coming, but give me, someone's watching and says, I'd be interested in sponsoring, or as an individual be interested in, can people actually send you money?
Oh, yes. We would love
You
to
can leave
talk
the
to
money in a
people.
bus locker in Oakland, and we will
And
pick
I'll
it
come
up.
pick it up personally.
So how do they go about that? Is there
Well,
a donation page on the website?
There is a donation page on the website, and we have a very a perfect address to send things to. Very memorable P.O. Box Jazz in Monterey, so you can't forget that. So coming to our website is a great way to find out about all that we do throughout the year, about our education program. You can go in depth on those things. You can learn a lot about the artists who are performing, and the history of the artists who have come to the festival over the years, and it gives you a lot of reasons to contribute to the organization.
I will tell you, your website's as good as your series. Your website is terrific.
Thank you.
And when you're there, you can do an app. I was going to do an app this year. This is not way over my head. But you guys really do it right. I could do an app for parking in Los Gatos, which would be perfect.
Make some money on that.
I could make some money. Wait, it's open. Okay, who have we got? The 58th annual?
Yeah, well, it's September 18th.
Let me interrupt. Has it been 58 consecutive years?
Yes.
Okay, so
there's
it was
never,
not-
there's
okay,
never,
never been
which
break.
makes us the longest running
Right,
jazz
okay.
festival in the world because
Okay.
we've never had any interruptions. So we're always the third weekend in September,
Okay.
which this year is September 18, 19, and 20. I always like to start with kind of the artists that we really build a large part of our programming around, which is our artist in residence, which this year is Wynton Marsalis and the Jazz at Lincoln Center Orchestra, who will be with us throughout the weekend in a variety of different settings. Our commission artist, who we talked about a minute ago, Ambrose Akinmusiri, an incredible young trumpet player who will be doing premiering a new piece of music that he wrote at Glendevan Ranch in Big Sur. Through an interesting and fun partnership that we have with another organization in Monterey County. And he'll have his group along with an expanded ensemble, so it'll be a 10-piece group. And then we have our showcase artist, which is an artist that we do exactly that, showcase in different settings throughout the weekend. And this year is going to be Chick Corea. And Chick will also be the honoree we do a kickoff event on the Thursday night, the 17th, the night before the festival, our Jazz Legends Gala, which we started at our 50th anniversary, which is our major fundraiser each year for our education programs. And we honor a jazz legend who also has deep ties to the Monterey Jazz Festival. Chick Corea goes back to, I was talking about 1969 a minute ago. Well, Chick Corea was there that year as the pianist in Miles Davis's band.
Okay.
So he has a long history with us, an incredible artist that's still going strong. At almost next year he'll be 75 years old. So we use that as our kickoff event. Terrence Blanchard will be the host. Cyril Ame, who's a wonderful singer who I'm sure you know about, will be performing. So that's kind of our kickoff to the weekend. People can, we have a wide...
Lay a couple names on me. Trombone Shorty's
Trombone Shorty's going to be there. Chris Bodie will be there. Diane Reeves, will be there. We will be doing debuting our next Monterey Jazz Festival on Tour group with Robbie Coltrane and Nicholas Payton. We have a huge tribute to Jaco Pastorius, which is going to be a big band up from LA with Vince Mendoza conducting the orchestra, doing the music of Jaco Pastorius, with Christian McBride, Felix Pastorius, Jaco's son, and Will Lee handling all the bass duties. So it's going to be an amazing weekend. There's a variety of ways to get tickets.
I was just going to say you can buy tickets for the arena. I know we only have a couple of left, but you can buy tickets for the arena, for the grounds, combination of both.
Yeah, you can do all sorts of combinations. If you can only come for one day, you can do that. We try and make it as user-friendly as possible. So there's just a myriad of ways to come and experience the festival.
And I have been coming for years, and when my children are grown now, but I can't tell parents a better way if you've got young kids to bring them and expose them.
And Sunday's a great day to do it.
Well, and to see other young people playing, absolutely.
Sunday's our family day, and we have all kinds of activities, even for very small ones. So families should feel really welcome and comfortable to come and bring their entire families to see the festival.
Well, the Monterey Jazz Festival, it is so close and so far above anything you will ever see. You've got to get down there. I thank you. Tim Jackson, always enjoy seeing you on the radio show before the festival. And if you do make a large donation to that bus locker in Oakland, Colleen will sing Stormy Weather for you. I don't know why. Didn't I sing that before? And a delight to see you. And welcome, congratulations. As Sinatra, our theme for Jazz Plaza this year, would say, from the business side, the best is yet to come, and you're going to be a big part of that.
Thank you
so
very much.
Thank you. Timothy, good to see you, my friend.
Michael, thank you.
That's Talk of the Town. Thanks to the good folks at KCAT. Look forward to seeing you next week. I'm Jacobi. I'll see you soon.